Hey guys, it's Star Wars week, one of my all-time favorite film series. Let's get this thing started. Hey guys, I'm Rick. This is the show where I talk about movies and TV shows, and a lot of people know that I am a huge Star Wars fan, and a lot more people want to know why didn't I get to these movies sooner? I wanted to devote an entire week to Star Wars. So, we're going to start with the first film all the way through The Mandalorian. And we're going to do it in chronological order. I know. I tossed and turned about it, but I want to do it in numerical order just because. Now, since I'm doing it in numerical order, obviously we're starting off with the very first film, Episode 1, The Phantom Menace. Now, this is the DVD. I'm just showing you this because for picture reference. The review is actually for Episode 1 on Blu-ray. And there's a reason why I want to go over the Blu-rays for this. And I'll mention the DVDs also, but far superior film quality with the Blu-rays. So in Episode 1, we get to meet a young Obi-Wan Kenobi, his mentor Qui-Gon Jinn, and our very first look at a very, very young Anakin Skywalker. Now, a lot of you should already know the story, but for those who don't, here we go.
Star Wars Episode 1, The Phantom Menace, came out in 1999. It was written and directed by George Lucas, and this was the first of his, quote, prequel trilogy. The movie stars Liam Neeson, Ewan McGregor, Natalie Portman, and Jake Lloyd. It's the fourth Star Wars film, but it's the first in the series if you go by chronological order of chapters. It's set about 32 years before the original trilogy, during the era of the Galactic Republic. In this movie, the plot follows Jedi Master Qui-Gon Jinn, who's played by Neeson, and his apprentice Obi-Wan Kenobi, as they try to protect Queen Padme Amidala of Naboo in hopes of securing a peaceful end to an interplanetary trade dispute. Now they're joined by Anakin Skywalker, who's just a young boy at this time. He's a young slave with unusually natural strong force powers. Lucas took a lot of time off between Return of the Jedi and this film. He wanted to wait for computer-generated imagery to advance to the level that he felt it needed to be in order to make the films that he wanted to make. Filming started in June of 1997 and ended at the end of September. It was Lucas's first directorial effort after a 22-year hiatus following the original Star Wars film back in 1977. I'm not gonna lie to you guys, there was a lot of mixed reviews on this film. There was a lot of nostalgia when the film was reported to be being made and when it came out, and that drove a lot of us to the theaters. What we got was a mixed bag, and I'll say two things about it. At that time, we looked at it as subpar, except for that ending. It had a kick-ass ending with the lightsaber battle. But we took it. We accepted it because it was Star Wars. Looking back on it now, and what we've seen with the quote-unquote sequel trilogy, we've learned to appreciate the prequels a lot more. Now don't get me wrong, I did say it went with mixed reviews, but it broke some box office records. At that time, it grossed more than $924 million worldwide during the initial theatrical run. It became the highest grossing film of 1999 and the second highest grossing film worldwide in North America alone, just behind Titanic. It was even reissued in 3D, which earned an additional $102 million and brought the film's overall worldwide takings to over $1 billion. A lot of people say that the acting in the film is very wooden. Looking back on it and watching it again, you can definitely see that. when you're wrapped up in the excitement of watching the Star Wars film, you don't notice it as much as you do when you seek out these technical things. I'm willing to bet you that if this cast had to do it all over again, it would have came out a bit different. Depending on who you were and when you came up around Star Wars, that determined a lot of what we liked and what we didn't like. For me, and this is just for me, the low point for me in the movie was really the pod race. I didn't really care for the displaced humor, and it just wasn't as exciting to me as it would have been for some very young kids seeing a Star Wars movie for the first time. Now, the high point was the lightsaber battle between Obi-Wan, Qui-Gon, and Darth Maul. This was the first time that any of us ever got to see a lightsaber battle with all the combatants in their prime. Fast-paced, violent strokes. And it was awesome. I know a lot of people were down on Jake Lloyd's performance, but remember, he was playing a 9-year-old boy. All he could do was work with the lines that he had. A seasoned actor could tweak some things, ad-lib some things, but when you're just an up-and-comer, you don't know until you know. Now, Ian McDiarmid came back as Senator Palpatine / Darth Sidious, and you could see the seeds of what he would do later on in the third episode. He's got that tinge of evilness about him that seems to go unnoticed with the people around him, but you know that he's up to something, and you can't wait to find out how he's going to pull it off. Another low for me, and a lot of people as a matter of fact, was Jar Jar Binks. This is another one where the kids seem to like Jar Jar. Those of us that were a lot older couldn't stand him. Jar Jar seemed out of place at the time because he seemed like it was too much. It wasn't like the Jaws or the Ewoks where they were side characters and they wouldn't hurt the film. This was actually one of the main characters. This was something George always wanted to do. I think he went too far over the top. He was too clumsy and too comedic. Fun fact, Michael Jackson, yes, that Michael Jackson, he expressed an interest in playing Jar Jar Binks, but he wanted to do it in prosthetic makeup while George Lucas wanted to do it in CGI. We also got to see Samuel L. Jackson in his premiere as Jedi Master Mace Windu. There was about 1,950 effect shots in The Phantom Menace, and the work was so extensive that 3 visual effects supervisors divided the workload among themselves. There was a mixture of practical effects, which a lot had been used in the original trilogy, and the onslaught of computer-generated effects, which has taken over Hollywood since then. Another fun fact, anticipation was so high for this movie, when the teaser trailer was released on selected screens accompanying the film Meet Joe Black back in November of 1998, the media reported that people were paying full admission at theaters just to see the trailer. To keep fans from leaving before the movie was over, some theaters played the teaser an additional time after the film finished. Alright, the film was released on VHS back in April of 2000. Yes, VHS was a thing, kids. It was also the first Star Wars film to be released officially on DVD back in October of 2001. And it is available digitally on the Disney Studios Disney Plus streaming service, as well as Blu-ray and now 4K. My love for Star Wars, as everybody knows, runs pretty deep. I had a lot of problems with pacing, specifically that long pod race scene, and then some of the quote-unquote wooden acting. Didn't really care for Jar Jar, but overall, I was, and I'm still satisfied with the film. And when you look at it in a stunning HD presentation as a complete package, I would score this a 3 out of 4. It's not the best that Star Wars has to offer, but it is a good start, and it's something that all the kids will love. It has its problems, but it overcomes those problems with its presentation.
I know that when they first came out, a lot of people weren't really into the prequels, and then there's a lot that were, and a lot of it has to do with how old you were at the time and how connected you are with the series. And I also know that once the sequel trilogy came out, a lot more people garnered more respect for the prequels. I do like all three, the original trilogy, the prequel trilogy, and the sequel trilogy, but I am always going to hold a special place in my heart for the original because I'm an OG too. Alright, that's all I've got for episode 1, The Phantom Menace. But, like I said, Star Wars Week got all the films lined up. So be sure and stay positive, stay blessed. Until I see you again, take care.